Culture Pastor.
All right, welcome back. Dave here, along with my wife, Danielle, fellow geek of the round table.
Hello.
We're going to maybe talk some science here.
Cool. I like science.
Yeah, this is a couple days in a row. We've had a couple science things to talk about, but you may not know this guy, but Howard who?
Who?
No, I'm not asking Howard who. That's his name, Howard who?
Like from Whoville?
No, H-U. He leads the Orion Lunar Spacecraft Program for NASA.
Okay.
That's going to be important here in a minute. And they launched last Wednesday what is called an Artemis rocket, which carries the Orion lunar spacecraft. Okay. And he said last Wednesday was a historic day for human spaceflight. And the reason is because basically they carried with it was unmanned, but it carried with it a mannequin, which will register the impacts of the flight to the moon on the human body. And he says this is all leading to a day when we will be able to carry people to the moon, and eventually humans will live on the moon this decade.
Hogwash.
I did not expect such a response so early on. Do you say it's hogwash because you don't think it'll happen, or you just don't want to live on the moon? Wouldn't it be interesting to live on the moon? You could watch an Earthrise. Oh, the Earthrise was great this morning. Really breathtaking.
Well, but no, because the moon's not rotating, right?
It'd still be some sort of a rise. It'd probably be different, but what if you live on the dark side of the moon? Or you probably wouldn't live on the dark side.
It'd be very cold.
Yeah, but I don't think you're taking walks outside. I mean, I don't even know what this would be like.
I don't know.
Well, it brings up an interesting question. Why would someone want to do this again?
I don't understand. Because there's not water there, right? Is there water on the moon?
Well, I mean, we need water to live, so I'm assuming that NASA is thinking up some ways to
install a water tank.
Yeah,
and
to bring
system.
water to you. I guess the part of
you brought this story up with me. You do realize who you're talking to, right?
Yeah, I know exactly who I'm talking to. Why? Well, tell people why this is a problem for you.
Because while I am not crazy like a flat earther, I tend to think that the moon landing may not have happened.
Okay.
I tend to think see, you brought this up with me. You weren't thinking
full
very clearly.
Disclosure, my wife is not usually a conspiracy-minded person, but she has one conspiracy theory that she is fully on board with, and that is the faked moon landing.
Yes.
Even though all of the evidence points to there are literally people who've been to the moon.
New Mexico makes a beautiful moon.
Neil Armstrong literally decked a guy because he suggested that he didn't go to the moon.
Well, Neil Armstrong and I should probably get into it.
Neil Armstrong, he might be old, but he whoop you. He might hit you with his cane or something.
But no, all the people that were supposed to go on that trip, that didn't go, they all died in mysterious ways.
This is the part of the disclosure statement. My wife's views are not necessarily the views of Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. Any and all opinions that come from her are probably wildly false.
No, I recognize it's possible. By now we've been there, but I do not know why anyone would want to live on the moon.
Yeah.
They don't even have Target. Can Amazon ship to the moon? No.
I'm not going there. Hold on. I think Jeff Bezos is making plans.
He might be having some. I'll tell you who's not going there. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Who? Who's not going?
I was going to say the Postal Service is not going to the moon.
We'll deliver only on the 3rd day of the 4th month, but not if someone's parked in front of your mailbox.
And there better not be any dogs.
So NASA and Howard who, who's in charge of this program of the Artemis mission of going to the moon, basically. They launched their rocket with an unmanned flight, but it had a mannequin to test the impact on the body.
Didn't they send an ape to space? Why didn't they send an animal? Something living?
I don't know. That the times may have changed enough where
You can't use animals like
we're
that.
not down with that anymore. Because that was like a thing back when original space flights were going on, the 60s, 1960s or whatever. And yeah, people were sending animals, but maybe they didn't think that was very humane.
I'd rather know the effects on an animal than on a mannequin, though.
Well, I mean,
before
okay.
I went, before
I don't
I'm
think
signing up for it.
I don't think this is a mannequin they just grabbed from the Gap. Like, I think this is a highly technical piece of equipment that is made to measure, and they just call it a mannequin.
It was definitely a Gap mannequin. It probably didn't even have a head.
One of the most critical phases of the Artemis mission is the getting the Orion module safely back to Earth. It will re-enter the planet's atmosphere at 24,000 miles per hour, or 32 times the speed of sound, and the shield on its underside will be subjected to temperatures approaching 3,000 degrees Celsius. So they don't even know, they haven't even tried that yet. They don't even know, like, we're already talking about sending people to the moon to live, and we don't even know if we can get the ship back yet.
I mean, that's just a minor piece of the puzzle.
That'd be like if I was planning a vacation saying, hey, we're going to Branson next month, but I haven't even checked out whether we can make it back through the 4,000 degree temperatures, whether the car will hold up on the way back. But why bother? Maybe we could just live in Silver Dollar City for the entirety of our lives, because it's sort of like the moon, just with more funnel cakes.
And it has a time traveler.
So you wouldn't want to live on the moon? No, that's a no-go for you?
No thanks.
Yeah, I don't understand the appeal. I don't understand the appeal.
I mean, I can understand the appeal of living, off grid in nature somewhere, but I don't understand the appeal of living on the moon.
Well, our degree of difficulty isn't so hard here on Earth because, as it turns out, it was literally made for us to live here.
Right. I don't have to wear a suit in order to breathe and stuff.
Yeah, I just don't have, I have to not do anything real dumb, and then I get to stay alive thanks to, advancement,
God's
help
design
if I need it. Meanwhile, if I'm on the moon and some piece of equipment I didn't even know about breaks, I'm probably dead. Like, that's the thing about the moon is, hey, you have to devise machinery to make it livable.
I mean, I feel like Matt Damon was in a movie about this, kind of, just on a different rock.
Yeah. The funniest part about all those movies, like The Martian with Matt Damon, the one with Sandra Bullock, is they always make it back. And it's super laughable because they'd be so dead. Super dead.
Oh, that one with Sandra Bullock was real dumb.
Gravity?
Yes,
Yeah, that one was crazy because she literally survives it's not just one event. She goes through 8 events that would have killed all humans.
Yes.
There's no chance. Like the C-3PO would be like, we have a 0% probability of making it through this alive. But since you're Sandra Bullock and the movie must continue, you're going to make it. I hated that movie. I remember the part at the end where she's kissing the ground where she lands in Indonesia somewhere on land, by the way.
Yes.
Just luckily near land because there's not a 70% chance you wouldn't land on land, right?
Right.
That
well,
movie.
wait, no, but she landed in the water, right? But just on the shoreline.
Yeah, she was able to swim to the beach and have this moment.
I might have liked that movie better if George Clooney would have been the one to live.
Oh, yeah. Don't get Cody started on all that. He gets mad because he loves the Cloons.
I like the Cloons.
He loves Clooney, and he says his least favorite part of that movie, he talks about this all the time. I don't know why, he just does, is that Clooney never gets to finish a joke. Like, he always starts telling a joke in that movie and then gets interrupted. And it's the most bothersome thing for him. Not the parts where the entire movie is junk because she should have died 8 times, but makes it. And then, that's what people think space travel is. And then they end up wanting to go to the moon. And NASA's like, oh, yeah, we're going to make that happen. And I'm just like, nope. No, I don't think so. So this Howard who's in charge of this division of NASA, the Artemis mission to send people to the moon, he's talking about how he believes that humans will be living on the moon in this decade. And
absurd.
Part of the reason is, and you asked earlier about water, he says part of the reason for these missions is they want to discover whether there's water at the south pole of the moon. Apparently they've detected some ice there that could be converted to provide a fuel for a craft going deeper into space, like the minerals in it or something. I don't know. To Mars, for example. And he said, quote, "We're going to be sending people down to the surface and they're going to be living on that surface and doing science." That's a real thing, he said.
That's like my 4-year-old. He's asked if we can do science every day.
This dude literally sounds like a theme park operator. He's like, "We'll send you down there and you're going to do science." I wouldn't let this dude send me to the grocery store. This sounds extremely fishy.
It's concerning.
Yeah. I've seen the movies. He's like, you'll just be like, just like Matt Damon in that movie, The Martian, when he went to Mars and did science.
It was so glamorous.
Everything about this is setting off red flags. And again, I'm just like, you know what the worst part about living on the moon would be? Every day you're looking at the Earth and being like, man, I bet that place is nice. Because it is. It's really awesome, as it turns out.
All the water and all the green stuff.
All the things to eat there. Like, listen, that's where Jesus should have gone for his 40 days and 40 nights of temptation. Would have been the moon. Because that would have really stunk. Because, you know, as it turns out, like the place in the wilderness where Jesus probably was overlooking the Jericho Valley.
Right, so he could see.
Yeah, which is really lush.
Yeah.
And like the wilderness, there's nothing growing. And then he sees this valley where there's just like life, i.e. food. Mm-hmm. And so like there's this temptation that's always there along with, you know, Satan. But he probably should have just gone to the moon, because I can't imagine a worse temptation. Like, I'm living in the moon where I can't go outside. I have to stay inside to be alive. Everything's gray, and every day I get to look at the lush, green, water-filled earth. Like, that seems like torture. Why would you do that? Who's doing this? I guess that leads me back to the same question of who's doing this? Who's going to the moon to live?
Sad people.
Yeah, it seems like a place where you're going to have many, so let's say the first mission is like, we're going to send 12 people to the moon to live, and 8 of them are therapists. Because you're going to need a 2-to-1 ratio of therapists to the volunteers who want to go. Because I got to think, if you're volunteering to go into the cold harshness of space, you're starting already from a place of yikes.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. I don't know about all this. All right. We're on the geek phone here with Geek Scotty. Scotty, our comic book geek. It is time for Comics Conclave. This one's been a long time coming because we've had delays, and we had a problem with the geek phone a couple weeks ago, and it's just been one thing after another. But we're here. Cody and I are here to talk about Comics Conclave with our guy Scotty. Scotty, remind everyone the title of this story we were supposed to be reading together.
Umbrella Academy Apocalypse Suite.
Okay, Umbrella Academy Apocalypse what? Suite. Yes, Apocalypse Suite. So, I think my first thing I'd like to ask you before I just let you go with talking about whatever it is you're wanting to talk about. Tell me why this is different than the TV show. For those of us who've only seen the TV show, why should we read the comic?
What I would say is the thing that really changes it is that you have more of a 70s golden age kind of comic feel to it, which is kind of nice. You also have a bunch of things you do not see in the show. The show grounded it quite a bit, as much as you can with, children with superpowers. So the show is pretty much a streamline of this story, with some minor tweaks, to sell to a general audience. It's the MCU feel,
Right. So yeah, I guess what are the things you want to highlight in this, or if this is like a book club for comic books, tell us the things you want to hit on here.
I think the thing that I really want to hit on about this one is that it's a fun book from start to finish. Yes, it deals with heavy topics. It is. I always explain it as being if X-Men and Doom Patrol, had a baby, and that's what Umbrella Academy is. It's that fun kind of 70s feel original X-Men team with that kind of fun and over the topness that is Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
And back to what we were talking about the differences, in the show it's these 7 children. In the comic there's 43 children born. He
Whoa.
only adopts 7. So you have a bunch of other children out there that in the comics, spoiler, and so comes volumes we still haven't gotten to yet, which will be fun going forward. So
Yeah.
I
Cody, where are you at with this? How was your experience with this? Because you're a DC guy.
So I agree with the comparison of like it's X-Men meets Doom Patrol, because like with Doom Patrol there are these like over the top but like heartwarming moments, and then like catastrophe just around the corner. And it was a good read. And it was real easy to kind of break up, especially when just going chapter or book by book in it. And so I enjoyed it, especially like having seen the show, being able to spot some of the differences. Like, oh, this would have been really difficult to pull off, but like it might have made the show even better. But there's a budget and there's hindrances of what you can and can't do. And so
now Scotty, are they still making these? Is this an ongoing series?
This is an ongoing. So he every once in a while when he's not busy with music will come back and drop another volume. Right.
Yeah, because
now there's
who's this?
Gerard Way.
I'm
Gerard
sorry.
Way.
Yeah, Gerard Way.
Yeah.
What band?
My Chemical Romance.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was by someone and I'd kind of forgotten.
So yeah, there's 3 volumes right now, and then a prequel series about Klaus. They just actually, which was surprising, and they didn't solicit it at all, and I was surprised. They did a one shot for Free Comic Book Day that was brand new this year. So I guess he's back to it. We can wait and we'll see. The show has actually whipped past where the comic is at now.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting. Well, and Gerard, when he started, he was very like, here's my beginning, here's my end. It's just plotting it out issue by issue.
Mm-hmm.
So the show has that template to play with that he's done to a certain degree of it ain't going to change that much when he breaks out the pages. So
yeah, it's super interesting that it's by someone who's outside of the comic book industry. So that like it was just a guy who, wanted to tell this story.
And that's the fun thing about, Gerard. Gerard started out, went to school to be an artist, and was working for Cartoon Network. And like I said before, was, 9/11 kind of was the thing that changed that, by sitting there on a train that day watching the towers fall, and then realized that maybe I want to try music. I had done art for a little bit, and so within doing the music, he felt like it was time to go back. And he every once in a while he'll do covers still, and from this this was his, I'm never going to get to do Doom Patrol, and I'm a gigantic fan of Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run, so I'm gonna do this. And then fast forward a few years later, and he's writing Doom Patrol at DC. Yeah. Along with doing he's done a prequel and a sequel to the Danger Days album that he did, as well as comics as well. So
yeah. Cody, what are some of the deeper themes?
Oh, I was going to ask Scotty a quick question. Yeah. Who's your favorite kid in this?
I'm a Klaus. I love Klaus.
Klaus is so easy to just be drawn into. And to go with like Dave's point, I mean, there is a lot of like our existence, what's our purpose, the family dynamics, especially like it's a kind of a broken situation because how he just gets these kids because they're
He
not
just
his kids.
Yeah,
no, he
unlike
just plucks these kids away from their mother. These
unlike
women who didn't know they were pregnant at the beginning of the day, and then mysteriously are having a child all at the same time.
yeah, the big difference. So I love the, you know, the Xavier school for gifted youngsters kind of feel of it, but unlike Xavier and the X-Men, this is highly dysfunctional as a
Yeah,
family.
it's very much the Doom Patrol. It's that same kind of feel. You have somebody pulling the strings that you may not fully want to trust.
Mhm.
Like Chief with Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
And it then goes into like, how does that affect our mental health, our physical well-being, especially for these seven that struggle throughout, like, do we
Especially Vanya.
yeah.
Vanya
Yeah.
is the big one.
Yeah. So yeah, tell people, get a few moments here of why they should read this. Tell us why it's one of your favorites.
It's one of my favorite. It's actually one of my top 5 of all time, actually. Um, for me, like I said, it is that very much that fun kind of golden age, silver age kind of fun and over the topness. I grew up an X-Men kid. Like X-Men was huge to me growing up. Because for me, X-Men was characters I could relate to. As I got older and this happened, I can relate with these characters. I can feel these characters. I get, what they're going through and what they're feeling, and you have this moment then that, not to give anything away, but they spend 20 years separated and come back because the only man they've known as a father has passed away.
Mhm.
So and I lost my dad very early on, so I get that feeling of like loss. He was still a father at the end of the day in his own way. And that's like Cody said, you get those kind of touching moments of like Doom Patrol. You get those moments of feeling that, even through all this chaotic and crazy and over the topness, you still have these grounded moments that in this comic that most comics are too takes themselves too seriously to give you those moments.
Yeah.
You have the Eiffel Tower as a spaceship in
Yeah.
the first
Right.
issue that, and then you segue it to this moment of loss that these 7 children are all feeling something different.
Yeah.
They're dealing with their grief in different ways, all of them. And Gerard balances writing that very well. And I think that's something to credit the show. Like the show got very well.
Yeah. I hope everyone enjoyed reading Umbrella Academy Apocalypse Suite. Those of you that were reading it along with us. Scotty, why don't you tell us, you've been dropping clues for the next thing we're all going to read together. Would you like to tell us what the book is?
I would love to. The next book, we're going back to Marvel. We're going back to House of Ideas.
Yes.
We are doing Origin. Origin is by Joe Quesada. It is an origin story for Wolverine that takes it back to late, very early in his life as a young boy on a plantation in Canada.
Okay. I'm excited because I've never read this.
I haven't even heard of it.
It is one I highly recommend, and it was very controversial when it came out for some of the things it does, and now it kind of got lost in the shuffle. They're just actually reissuing it again. There's a second volume as well. Andy Kubert actually draws this. Joe Kubert's son, legendary Joe Kubert's son, as well.
Awesome. All right. So the book is Origin. And I think if you probably have the Marvel app, you probably should be able to have access to that.
Don't watch the movie.
Sadly,
Wolverine Origins.
but the opening of that movie is part of this graphic novel. So,
Yeah.
Let's be honest, the first 5 minutes of Wolverine Origins is probably one of the best sequences ever, and then it goes downhill from there.
Quickly.
Yeah.
All right, Scotty, thanks.
You're welcome, guys.
Everybody get ready for the next book. We're reading Origins in Comics Conclave. Thanks for stopping by, Scotty. We'll talk to you next time.
No problem.